2019 was an active year for tech. As the final year in the current console generation's life cycle, 2019 finally brought us some concrete bits of information about the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Nintendo launched the smaller and more portable Switch Lite, as well as the innovative Ring Fit Adventure, 2019's answer to Wii Fit. Meanwhile, foldable screens started to show up on phones and tablets, Google Stadia proved that game streaming can work, eventually, and VR truly started reaching the masses. Let's dive in. The Switch is already a massive hit for Nintendo, but without a Zelda or a Mario to move systems, it fell to Nintendo to mix things up. The company's answer was the Switch Lite, a smaller, more portable, handheld-only version of the Switch. It's perfect for people like me who rarely dock the system to play on TV, or those who travel a lot and want the extra portability. Speaking of Switch, another fun piece of tech this year was the Ring Fit Adventure. Nintendo's made strides in the fitness game world before, most notably with the Wii Fit, but Ring Fit Adventure is as much a game as it is a workout motivator. Nintendo has never stopped using its hardware in surprising, innovative, and frankly kind of weird ways, and we hope they never stop. Folding screens have been a technological pipe dream for so many years, but in 2019 we've finally seen some of these flexible displays come to market. In January, LG unveiled its first rollable OLED TV that could go from being a full-size 65-inch TV to completely stowed away inside its stand in just a few seconds. A month later, we got a pair of foldable phones, the Samsung Galaxy Fold and the Huawei Mate X. These phones finally realized the dream of having a phone that could turn into a miniature tablet. Sure, the former had to be recalled before it even released, and the latter just released, in China only. But it's still crazy that you can have a foldable device in your pocket today. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, as later in the year, Microsoft teased two of its own foldable devices, in the Surface Neo and Surface Duo, that'll release by the end of next year. Of course, the coolest foldable screen device has to be the new Motorola Razr, which brings back the classic flip phone design with its cutting-edge display technology. 2019 also delivered the long-awaited advent of cloud game streaming. Streaming has existed in one form or another for nearly a decade, but this year, tech giant Google finally joined the party with its Stadia service, which promised to let you stream games at 60 FPS and 4K with little to no latency to any Chrome-enabled device. The service is undeniably impressive, but it's also lacking a ton of features and has a pretty iffy subscription model right now, not to mention a limited library of fairly stale games. Until the free version launches next year, you'll have to both pay a monthly subscription fee and buy the games you want to play. Yuck. But even with these limitations, when it works well, it feels amazing. We'll be checking back in on Stadia regularly as the fledgling service finds its footing, and as other players like xCloud and Nvidia's GeForce Now join the fray. 2019 was a big year for VR. Not necessarily because of a killer app that finally convinced people to buy into the tech. If anything, that'll be next year's Half-Life Alyx. Instead, it was second-gen modern VR hardware making waves in 2019. On the high end of the spectrum, Valve, one of the biggest longtime supporters of VR, finally released its own piece of hardware, the Valve Index. High resolution, high refresh rate screens, fantastic 3D audio, and perhaps most notably, the Knuckles controllers that track individual finger positions. It's an expensive headset though, $1,000 for the complete kit, which makes it a tough sell for folks looking to dip their toe in the virtual waters. But it did move the needle for what high-end VR could be. On the other end of the spectrum, Oculus launched two new headsets this year, the Rift S and the Quest, the latter of which really made some waves. The Quest is a standalone headset that uses inside-out tracking. In other words, the Quest finally delivers the wire-free, put-it-on-and-go promise that VR has been looking for. Because of this, Quest has finally made an easy entry point for folks curious about VR. You don't have to worry about having a powerful gaming PC, or a PS4 in the case of PSVR, in order to try out VR for the first time. The results speak for themselves, as the Quest has sold more than 400,000 units in its fledgling lifetime. Later in the year, Oculus sweetened the deal with the Oculus Link, a software update for Quest units that lets you plug in the standalone headset into a gaming PC via USB-C in order to access PC-only VR experiences. It's the best of both worlds. And with the VR-only Half-Life Alyx coming early next year, VR might finally have the killer app it needs to hit mass market saturation. Most next-gen console launches are kept under lock and key until they happen, at least until E3. But this year, both Microsoft and Sony announced they'll have next-gen consoles coming more than a year early, and both have been trickling out info since. Sony has been steadily feeding us details about its upcoming PS5 all year long. Here's what we know so far. It'll use a third-generation 8-core Ryzen processor based on AMD's latest 7nm Zen 2 architecture, a custom variant of AMD's Radeon Navi GPUs that's powerful enough for 8K gaming and ray tracing. And most notably, the PS5 is set to finally drop traditional spinning disk hard drives in favor of more modern solid-state storage. This means dramatically faster load times. And to cap the year off, at the Game Awards, Microsoft officially unveiled the Xbox Series X, formerly known as Project Scarlet. It's a hulking black tower that frankly looks like a PC, and that Microsoft says will be 4 times as powerful as the Xbox One X. That's roughly 12 teraflops of GPU power for those counting. Microsoft says games will run native 4K at 60 frames per second, up to 120 frames per second, with support for variable refresh rates, real-time ray tracing, and 8K output. To accomplish this, Microsoft is working on its own custom Zen 2 and Navi-powered chip with AMD. We'll be keeping a close eye on those two systems as we get closer to launch next year. For that and all your tech needs, keep it at IGN.